Our first round of questions, and we have the Conservatives up first. MP Chambers for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Giroux, and I see you have one of your staff with you today. Thank you very much for appearing at our committee. It's wonderful to have you here. I think back to the times prior, before we had the Parliamentary Budget Officer, and I think that the work that you and your office do certainly makes our job as parliamentarians easier, but increases our confidence level in some of our financial discussions that we have at this table. So thank you very much. You mentioned you did some work on the luxury tax. I'd like to spend a bit of time there, but before I do, Mr. Chair, just to provide notice to this committee of a motion. I do not wish to debate this motion, but I did want to table it here publicly. I have sent it to the clerk. But following on the good work of the Parliamentary Budget Officer, that this committee, in respect of the luxury tax, will ask the Department of Finance to table a report to this committee on or before September 19th, which would include an economic impact study of the select luxury tax items, including a breakdown on the expected employment and expected tax revenue. On or before October 24th, that the Department of Finance provide a detailed written progress report on the efforts by the department to address some of the issues that we've heard. And then by November 21st, 2022, that the department reappear before this committee so we can discuss its findings. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll just...
Thank you, MP Chambers. I'll just ask that the clerk has received it and distribute it to members. Thank you. Yeah, thumbs up.
Thank you very much. So we'll discuss that at a later date with my peers. Mr. Giroux, thank you for providing some economic basis. We have not seen a economic impact assessment done by the government for this luxury tax. So I was very, very interested in what you shared with us. At a high level, I saw some significant lost sales, about $2.9 billion. A lion's share of that was affecting the vessels. The boating industry is about 75%, $2.1 billion. I know there's assumptions that go into that, but just want to talk about a high level about what we could expect to see, even just the direction of economic activity.
So as you pointed out, we did estimate the impact on sales of the introduction of a luxury sales tax for automobiles, vessels, and aircraft. And we find that the bigger impact will be on vessels. So with the reduction in sales for vessels, we can expect a reduction in activity, especially with respect to sales, but also potentially manufacturing of these vessels and aircraft to a lesser extent, and automobiles. However, we haven't done an economic study because that would be a significant undertaking for a small office like ours. So it's not clear whether there would be a full substitution for exports for the loss of sales, whether it's mostly imports or domestically produced goods that would be suffering. Probably a mix, but we have not done that study. But it's clear that with a reduction in sales, there would inevitably be a reduction in sales tax that would otherwise be collected. One can think about the GST, but also provincial sales tax and the HST. So in a nutshell and at a high level, that's what we can expect, a reduction in sales of almost $2.9 billion over a 5-year horizon and a commensurate reduction in sales tax collected.
Thank you very much. I would support, obviously, your office getting additional resources so it can take on additional studies like this. But my math, kind of high-level math, shows just if you looked at sales taxes, so federal, provincial together, about $375 million, holding everything else equal on $2.9 billion of sales. So that, just at the highest level, if you net that out against what the government says it will take in revenue, is going to take down substantially the net impact to the government's coffers. Is that a fair assessment? That's
indeed a fair assessment. Because of the reduction in sales, there will undoubtedly be a reduction in sales taxes collected. The extent to which is difficult to estimate because it's a niche market. Obviously, not every one of us buys a vessel or an aircraft. I certainly don't. And I'm not in the market for such an expensive car, but it's certain that there would be a reduction in sales taxes receipts. The extent to which this will happen is an estimate, and because it's a niche market, it's not straightforward to estimate what we call an elasticity. So the extent to which sales will respond to an increase in prices through the luxury sales tax. That being said, we have looked at international experience and we have used a peer-reviewed elasticity that we think is very defensible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I hear that some homework is better than no homework, and I think that this shows the government should be doing that. Just quickly, you mentioned that this is the second time you came to the committee, and you mentioned about the timing of the budget and having MPs be able to review things. Do you just want to expand on that very briefly about what you would like to see in terms of timing of reports and the tabling of budgets?
So that's a good point. Ideally, there would be a budget that would happen earlier in the cycle, for example, in February, so that budget items would be reflected in the main estimates, which is the vehicle through which the government finances its operations, so that you as parliamentarians, when you review the main estimates, you can make the connection back to budget items, as opposed to having main estimates that are not complete, do not paint a complete picture of the government finances and do not include budget estimates. So you'd have a much easier job, I would say, of approving or scrutinizing government expenditures or the government's requests for money that would include budget items, which is currently not the case with a budget tabled way after the main estimates have to be prepared and tabled.
Thank you very much, Mr. Giroux. You're welcome to come back anytime. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MP Chambers. And as far as the motion, the clerk did receive it, although we do need it in both official languages for distribution.